Good morning, everybody, and my apologies to everybody. These two smart girls here got the times wrong. So I'm in Sydney and Chrissy is in Queensland, and we just stuffed that up. So it's just how the world works. And as I said to Chrissy before, like it's not the end of the world, which is great because everything can be fixed. And so we're just going to make sure that this hour of power is so damn good that when everybody's listening to the recording, that they're going to absolutely think that it's worth the wait, right? Worth the wait.
100% was worth the wait.
Welcome to you. The ABIC community welcomes you. I'm going to, like, your Facebook page is like Chrissy, but you're Chrissy Alger. What do you go by most?
Well, I think most of the industry knows me as Chrissy Alger. My private Facebook page is Site Chrissy.
Oh, is that what it is? I did notice that there was two different pages. Sure. I have to say, when I first saw you, because you weren't with all due respect, you weren't on my radar with for up until I think about a year ago. And I started seeing this site, Chrissy, but I was also following this psychic, and I went, "What's that? Like, is a psychic following? Like, is there a psychic in the industry? What's going on?" So it's not a psychic; it's a psychologist. So before we're going to be talking about dodging the downturn and bulletproofing business strategies, and this is the second series in ABIC's commitment to helping our members in these challenging times. And there's a whole lot of different things going on. And so we're going to talk about those things, and we're going to talk about some real great ideas that can be executed for that don't cost the earth, that minimal investment, things people can do straight away to make a difference in their business. But before we do that, I do want to understand the psychologist's background. I've had the opportunity to hear about it, but I think it's so lovely to hear where you've come from and how that works for you in this industry.
Yeah, well, I think, I was moonlighting as a forensic psychologist. So I spent 10 years in prison, basically. Working with
in prison, but
yeah, I was 10 years in prison, and as you could imagine, being an inmate or being a professional in a prison environment, 10 years is a long time.
That's a long time
to be in that type of environment doing that type of work. So I got to a point where I thought I just want to have a different and a greater impact on the world. And I always had, and I didn't realize it at the time, but I did always have little entrepreneurial flares. And even though a lot of that entrepreneurial flair was very stifled in the Department of Justice, right? Because they don't like entrepreneurial, flary sort of people.
You're just going to work in the box, right?
Correct, right? Sit behind the red tape, follow everybody else, don't do anything different. And that was very suffocating for me.
Did you have to talk to yourself every day about that? Like, Chrissy, back in the box, back in the box.
Oh, you know what? Like I just tried to manage up as much as I possibly could. Like I was working with prison officers and supervisors and all of these, burly men that had been in the industry for years and years and years. And you just had to find a way to just influence and get them to be on your side, probably by inserting the fact that maybe it was their idea in the first place, so that I could get certain things over the line. But it got tiring. So I had
there was a limit.
I had to get out of there because it was very creatively restrictive for me.
How do I do this?
Oh my goodness, I'm live.
Oh, no, I don't want to go. I don't have to swim.
So my daughter has her bathers halfway down. Excuse me, sorry everyone.
Sorry, I don't know what's going on here.
This is live. This is real life, isn't it? This is what us girls do. It is such a juggle.
Right.
But
look, on everybody. She can go to swimming.
Gorgeous. Oh, she's beautiful. Don't you love how Dad couldn't put a bathers on? Hope he doesn't hear that. Mums, I love this. This is so good. Oh my God, that is so cute, Chrissy.
He's coming in, standing on the edge. Oh my God,
I could see that you had something happening on the side there and you were doing a really good job. And then in the end, he's just like, how do I do this?
So sorry, guys.
Don't you love that? Don't be silly. I was just saying, this is life. Like, this is life. This is the reality, right?
Mum life.
There is mum life. Exactly right. My kids are not kids anymore. I have adult children, and whenever I had a moment just like that, I would always go, oh my God, am I doing this right? Am I doing the best that I can do? Like, is my kid's going to hate me? I wasn't there to put on their cosy and do this right. Now I have adult children that live out on their own, and I can ask them that question. And the best thing is when they go, Mum, you couldn't have done it any better. There is nothing that we lacked. There is nothing that we missed out on. And at the end of the day, your little one's going off swimming because Dad's doing that and you're doing what you're doing, and it works out, you know. So that's a really good lesson today, is that never doubt yourself and never think that you're not doing it well enough or enough, because one day they're going to say to you, you know what, Mum, God, you did good. And they're like, oh, it's so nice.
Absolutely. And look, in business owner life, it gets really challenging when you're trying to balance the family life versus the demands. And, you know, today we're talking about economy and the challenges with when things are fluctuating so much and business gets a little bit pressured or stressful or whatever's going on. It is a bit of a juggling act to be present, be available, cope with all of the things, plus deal with the fact that your business is doing different things that you're not necessarily used to, and then you need to use your brain and your energy over here, and then you've got little people that need you over here. So it can be really challenging.
And poor Dad goes, how do you do this?
Bathers are on back to front. I've still sent her out the door. They're still back.
Oh, no, you didn't.
You're going to have to work that out.
That's so cute.
Or get another pair of bathers. There's like 15 pairs of bathers in her bottom drawer.
Oh, I'm sure there'll be some mum that'll look at her and go, I'm too happy.
We can go to swimming and wave the bathers around.
And say, it'll be fine.
Help me put these
It'll
on.
be fine. It'll be fine. Hey, tell me, Chrissy, so you've done the best that you can in this forensic environment. And it's time to get out. You make decisions. It's time to go, how do we get so lucky? How does the professional beauty industry get so lucky to get you here?
Well, I loved skin. So I was a big consumer of skin treatment, skin services. I loved the way that it made me feel. So when I was having a think about, well, what do I want to do here? I opened a wellness centre, and I thought, what do I want to put in this wellness centre in terms of an offering, and offerings that I knew made people feel amazing. So I was thinking of the service offering, and I came up with 3 different areas. So one was a yoga studio. The other one was a skin/medi spa, because that was my thing, and it had made such an impact on my life that I thought, how could I not have a skin clinic in there? And the other part was allied health and consulting studios. So the thought behind the brand was more around, how do I create a one-stop shop for people to be able to invest in their self-care, to spend time on themselves, to access services where I could actually hide psychology in a lot of those services to be able to help people. Because psychology, to a certain degree, and it still is now, it's very stigmatized. You know, even though we've come leaps and bounds from the old days where it was nobody saw a psychologist, or nobody really accessed help, and emotions weren't the thing that you did, and we suppress all of that.
Certainly didn't tell anybody that you saw a psychologist, right? And even today, till today.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
But there's still a little bit of a, you know, there's something wrong with me if I have to go and see a psychologist or access professional health services or whatever that might be. So my point of difference was that in the skin clinic, it was very much a holistic offering, and it was about consulting in ways that understood people from an emotional and a psychological point of view, because skin and skin health is so psychologically intertwined. As far as we know, people that are presenting with skin conditions have a lot of challenges with self-confidence and feeling good about themselves. And also for me, I knew how much amazing skin treatment impact on, you know, just your own self-care, and having that time out once a fortnight or once a month or whatever it was, just for you.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
So that's why I opened the skin clinic. And, you know, I had all the rigmaroles of business in the first 3 years that everybody else probably encountered. I was able to dig my way out of that. We became, you know, really successful. We moved into a commercial shop front because I had all of the services operating out of like a medical centre structure. So I moved that out into its own commercial shop front. We were trading there for about 9 months, and then COVID hit.
Oh, okay. So did you, what happened at COVID? Where did
So
you go
then
with
we completely pivoted online and started providing online skin consultation to all of Australia.
that? Yeah, how good was that? I still think that was
Amazing.
one of the best things that came out of COVID. But I do have to say that whilst we certainly encourage our partners to do the same, to go and get out there and do it virtually, and bring customers from all over Australia. But there were also customers that came in from New Zealand, and there were some overseas customers that they got. I can't say that I know many, if any, and don't quote me here, of our partners that actually stayed with that appointment column that were dedicated to virtual, because there's something that we should never have dropped. Now we've gone back to what we used to do. So whilst all these doors opened up during COVID, and one of them being this virtual consultation, the ability to service guests and patients from all over the world, I can't say that I know anyone that has continued to work that opportunity, which is such a shame.
It is a
Because
shame.
when it's quiet,
Yeah,
it can be sitting in front of this screen like we're doing right here and now and making money, changing lives and making money.
and to be honest, like the consults that we were doing at the time, the people that were accessing those consults were literally people that said, I've been waiting for this forever. I'm in a regional remote area, or I'm a fly in, fly out worker, and I'm in the mines right now, and I don't have a skin clinic available to me that is resourced enough to be able to give me really good clinical guidance around my skin. So it just so happened that I could see definitely long-term viability with that strategy. But when we came out of COVID, and we all came out of COVID a little bit bruised and battered, I had some revelations around where I wanted to spend my time and what I wanted to be doing to further leave my little footprint on the world. And what that meant was that I actually ended up selling my business after that time and coming into the coaching space full time.
And you're award-winning at what you do. So it's obviously, it was probably a really nice thing for you to do, so that you really got the challenges and walking that same journey that clinic owners and their staff work every day. You said something there before about we all came out a little bit bruised and battered out of COVID. Do you think that the challenges that we are facing in the industry today, they're not unusual? Like we've been there before, we've been in semi-recessions before, close to recessions. We're saying at the moment, the Deloitte economics say that Australia is not in a recession, but some Australians are. Do you think because we came out bruised and battered, do you think there's a bit of a mindset of defeat because we're tired from then? Or do you think that there's new challenges that people are facing and it's sort of like, just on the pandemic, I don't think I can do this again? What are you feeling? What are you seeing out there?
Well, I think that, look, and I haven't been in business for 20 or 30 years, but from what I can take from the stalwarts of business is their feedback's been that we had it pretty good prior to COVID. That, and when you think about the industry as it stands now, like anybody that's come in the last 5 to 10 years would never really have encountered we had the global financial crisis, but, there's never really been anything like COVID and then the post-COVID in the business experience where we've had to kind of, hit our bootstraps and do things differently and adjust, customize our businesses. So it's almost like the time before COVID potentially lulled us into a false sense of security, where when we've faced a cycle of instability, which by all accounts happens, it's been happening forever and a day.
Wasn't the first time.
Whoa, hang on a minute. This is not usual for me. This is really tough. This is, how do I get around this? But my impression is that these are the cycles that just unravel in, various times of business, whether it be once a decade or, a couple of times a decade. But, the industry as it stands now had never really encountered anything like it.
It's so true. Do you think this is one of the things that I feel this is because we've never been through that before, and now we have, and there's lots of things in life that happen if you lose a loved one and you've never lost a loved one before, and then all of a sudden you're faced with this incredible grief and mourning and this absence in your life. There is a lesson that I find that I get out of life is that no matter whether it's good, bad or ugly, this too will pass. And so I find that whatever's going on, it's going to pass. We know that now, right? we've got partners in Christchurch that lost their homes and you know, with the earthquake, that too passed because now they've rebuilt. But what it is, the learning should be, apart from the fact it's going to pass, whatever's happening right now is going to pass, but it's what you're doing in this moment. The action of today is the consequences of tomorrow.
Exactly right.
Right? So if you're going to sit here and feel defeated, tomorrow's not going to look much better. But there are things that you can do right here, right now to change what's going on in your business. Would that be right?
And exactly right. And I think in addition to that, I've been very vocal in the industry about the COVID and the post-COVID time hasn't necessarily changed things in your business from the point of view that it's probably highlighted vulnerabilities that were already there. Okay, when I look at what's going on in businesses right now and the impacts and the symptoms of the challenges that they're having, when we peel the layers back on that, it's actually always been a problem, right?
Yes.
But it hasn't been as impactful than when the economy starts to shift and slide, and then all of a sudden, the issue or the symptom is actually hitting people in the face.
It's
but it was there
exposed.
the whole time.
Right. Yeah. Suddenly it's exposed. Exactly right. I love that. And one of the things that we did in our business, I remember once having a coach. I had a national sales conference, and the coach came in without conferring with me first, and she said, "You guys, you know your BDMs, like we've got 19 BDMs. I thought, you don't need to be on the road. Just get on a Zoom. Just look after your customers with a Zoom." I'm sitting up the back of the room like about to die because no, we're a face-to-face business. This is what makes us different, like, you know. And then COVID comes and we're forced to go on Zoom. And I'm like, okay, all right. And now we've come out and now we have a hybrid offer. We prefer face-to-face, but sometimes it just doesn't make sense. So we do the Zoom as well. So we needed to be pushed. And so we've got to look at these things as things that are pushing us to do better. I want to ask you, Chrissy, so we're going to just hit some real nitty-gritties here. So when the going gets tough, and you know, it always seems to be measurable in the financials, of course. How close do you think clinic owners and their team should be to the daily numbers? Is it something that they should be discussing? Should the team be aware of where the numbers are, where they need to be, and where the gaps are? Or should it be something that the clinic owner holds all to herself and goes, my God, I hope today is going to be a better day?
Look, I think that there's two parts to this that you need to be conscious of when it comes to numbers, because numbers in general in our industry for business owners and, you know, for the therapists have typically been quite a scary thing. Right. I have conversations with business owners all day, every day that go, oh, I just don't want to look there. Or, you know, they're experiencing a lot of pain, but avoidance of the numbers is based on a fear that it's going to be even more painful if they go there and they understand what's really going on. And my view on that is two parts. So that even though numbers can be scary, it's the only way that you can actually work out what you need to do differently to get a better outcome, right? Numbers are the centerpiece or should be the centerpiece to your decision-making process for anything that you're doing in business life. So if you're not consulting numbers, I say you're probably just driving around with a blindfold on. And that to me is a lot scarier and a lot more impactful than ripping the Band-Aid off, just looking at them and understanding them and knowing what to do next. It's the same for the therapists, right? When they're presented with numbers, sometimes it's been presented in a way that's very scary for them, that's very overwhelming for them. The numbers have become the centerpiece of the conversation. And the challenge for them is that, one, they know what the number needs to look like. However, they don't necessarily know how to get there. So the missing part of the engagement between the business owner and the team member is that they're using the numbers to try and drive the performance, but the team members don't necessarily know from a performance point of view what they need to do differently to actually influence those numbers.
The how to, right.
So my recommendation is numbers are important, they're there, but I downplay sort of them as being the centerpiece to the interactions that I had with when I was at my skin clinic. I would say this is the only form of measuring stick that we have, right? We need to look at it. However, I'm more concerned with the behaviours and the things that we're doing to be able to influence those numbers in the way that we would like, because The numbers are a representation of meeting needs and providing value to the clients. And when we do that, the numbers just show up.
They show up. Let's talk about that, Chrissy. Let's talk about the how-to. One of the things that I feel that when things are a little bit challenging, basic stuff is missed. Basic things are missed. Things like the picking up the phone. I know that it's very old-fashioned. I know that people don't like to pick up the phone and talk to people anymore, and the SMSing, and maybe it is an SMS that we're talking about, but following up their guests and their patients, following up on the treatments that they've just had, following up on patients that haven't come back into the clinic. How much do you recommend that that's done?
So we're talking about clinical care here, right? And I think we're getting away from the whole, well, I'm just a beauty therapist, sort of, I just wax and a mentality. Like, skin is emerging. I believe skin is an allied health service, right?
Yes.
And this was what probably shocked me when I came into the industry. I was a little bit naive, and I would come in and I would say things like, okay, so what does the treatment plan say? And my team members would look at me and go, what do you mean a treatment plan? And I would say, well, we're treating a concern here. We need to have a bit of a map around how we're actually going to get this. And they were just like, I don't, this is not, the language is really not landing here.
Yes.
I used a term called continuity of care. And they're like, you say what? Writing your clinical notes, making sure it's on the file, calling up the client and checking in on their home care and their prescription. You're like, prescription? So there was a lot of allied health modelling that I assumed was evident in the industry when I came in, that I just went, whoa, hang on a minute. Like,
it's interesting. Yes, Chris, you have to say that I've been in the industry for such a long time, and so I studied such a long time ago, that was a thing. Yeah. It actually was a thing. We did talk about the continuity of care. We did talk about that whole treatment plan. We did talk about prescriptions, diagnosis of prescription, but it's something that has been lost, and that breaks my heart. So it's when I hear you say it, it's just so wonderful for therapists just to really think about what that means. And it's not a guest or a parent. I never know which one to call it. I hate calling them customers because they're not customers. In one of our brands, because it's more mindful and more sort of like, nurturing, I call it the guest, and in other brands I call it the patient. But let's just call it for the patient for the sake of the exercise. So it is a patient coming in, and it is about them coming in for a treatment plan. So that means it's not just a one-off. How do you recommend to therapists that are listening today and clinic owners that are listening today, say, I wish my staff could understand that? How do you recommend that you get your head around this transaction being not just a one-off?
Sure. Yeah. I think the first part is the psychology. Okay. So really understanding what you're doing and why you're doing things. And I think where team members have got frightened of recommending or selling, there's a lot of blockages around asserting themselves in that way, is because they don't understand the purpose of what they're trying to do. And I think when you shift over to a clinical care model and you get people to understand, you know what, these clients have actually come to you to get a problem resolved, okay? And it's actually your job to construct and put things in front of them that they can understand sort of why they might be having those recommendations or what the treatment plan looks like. And then it's up to them to decide whether they want to take that pathway or not. But the biggest challenge is if you don't bother to put that in front of them in the first place, you're really not doing your job to the level that you should be. So I think sometimes there's a disconnect around purpose. So they don't really understand that their role is to resolve skin concerns to the level that requires them to make sure that somebody has a full prescription, to make sure that somebody has a treatment plan, and to make sure that you've made suggestions in the service that might enhance or better customize, or, we call these upgrades, or we call this, retail, or we call it, a rebook. I don't use any of that language because it doesn't align with the purpose. right? We don't rebook, we treatment plan. We don't retail, we prescribe. Okay, when you start to use some of that language and sit in that psychological framework, team members are much more open to the understanding that they're a clinical person, right? And that they're actually treating concerns and playing a pivotal role in that person being able to achieve the outcomes that they're looking for. So it doesn't become a rebook or a sale, it becomes a clinical transaction that the person has come to you seeking in the first place.
That is just absolute gold. It really it changes that whole dialogue from I'm just a beauty therapist to I am the master of this skin treatment plan, and I'm going to take you through the journey to reach your goals, and then I'm going to help you maintain those goals. I'm going to do that. Absolutely. And then it encompasses all that, the prescription, the home care plan, the rebookings, as you say. You don't need to use all those words. Oh God, that was we can just finish it there, because if everybody just listened to that, it's gold.
And when you use that, so for the business owners that are watching this, when you change the frame of which you're engaging with your team members around some of this language, it makes it easier for them to be a bit more assertive in the way that they're talking with clients and making recommendations, because they're coming from a place of, this is actually what I'm supposed to do, rather than a place of, oh, I need to do this because my performance metrics say that I need to be selling 16 retail units and I need to be rebooking and it's not about that. It's about the care of the client and making sure that we're giving them solutions that they've come to us and asked for.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing with the whole retail thing, and that's obviously something that I've dedicated my entire career to, I feel like is definitely in the last 16 years with what I do now, is that 80% of a treatment result is maintained at home with retail, with prescriptive care,
home care,
and with home care. And if you're not doing that, you're doing a disservice to the patient. And I've been heard to say before, like, if you don't go through that, treatment plan, you don't go through that prescriptive care, are you giving them a discount at the end? Like, are you saying, look, we only did half our treatment today, so I'm only charging you 50% of that treatment? No, we don't. We take the full fee, but we've only given half of the service.
Yeah,
I got my tyres changed yesterday, and I paid for 2 tyres to be changed. I got 2 tyres changed, and I paid for the 2 tyres, but it's okay to go into a clinic and get half a service and pay the full price just to get that 1 tyre. See, things like that, they just blow my mind.
Service is treatment plus the recommendations to customise or enhance the treatment, if you want to call that an upgrade in that other language, a full home care prescription and a treatment plan. In my opinion, that's a full service. And if your clients are not receiving that, I'm going to be quite frank in saying they're being ripped off.
Yeah, I totally agree. I know it sounds really harsh, but it's exactly that. It's exactly that. Truth. Yeah. I wanted to give you a couple of scenarios, because one of the things that I really want to be able to help the ABIC members with is, like, day to day, to be able to execute changes that aren't going to cost the earth, that have minimal investment. Some of them have no investment, but will start to change the turnaround of the business. Sure. So if you're in your clinic, or when you were in your clinic, you looked at tomorrow's book, and it was absolutely, well, let's say there was gaps. And you're like, okay, so I only got like 50% of my team working, the other 50% not. Are there any ideas that you would recommend before you went home that could possibly change the outlook of the following day?
Yeah, and it's tricky because that outcome of that day is probably an issue of things that happened a number of weeks ago, right? Because when we have lumpy appointment books, there's a number of different reasons for that. I'm going to focus on one, but also the strategy for following up the next day. I'm happy to sort of give a band-aid solution for that, right? But, lumpy appointment books is primarily due to inconsistencies in client attendance. Okay, when we've got clients running their own race on appointments, as far as using online booking structures, or I call it, and excuse the language, but appointment swingers. They're actually just swinging. from rebook to rebook, right? They don't actually have a plan in place. What we know is that from a commitment and a motivation perspective, those clients are much more likely to cancel their appointments or not show up for their appointments if they don't have a map of the future and if they're not invested in that process. So first and foremost, I would say that, you know, let's reverse 4 weeks ago when your clients were all supposed to be structured into a treatment plan that has all of that booked in advance. Fast forward 4 weeks later, because you've got swingers, people that are just swinging from rebook to rebook, that person's had something happen and they've gone, oh, I'll just cancel it and make it another time, because they're not really invested in a process. There's no map of the long-term outcomes. There's no buy-in, because it's just like, oh, well, next time we'll do a hydrofacial or we'll do a, and they're like, yeah, okay. Like there's a real
There's no consequences, is there?
100%.
There's no
right?
consequences.
So first and foremost, I think that your treatment planning has to be really strong. You know, so you need to make sure that every client has a treatment plan that suits their needs. And this is where I'll get into the economical components of what I'm noticing right now that might help you get this over the line. Clients do have, at the moment now more than ever, investment constraints. Right? Now, I think that as an industry, we need to be really mindful of that. You know, I think that we've come from a place where you go, no, well, you present the gold standard and you say to them, well, this is going to get you the best results, and you dig your heels in. And if they're not able to come to the party on that, well, then they just need to go away and think about it. Right? I think we need to soften on that approach a little bit. I think people need options according to any sort of investment limitations that they have. That, yes, ideally, we would have people committed to the Rolls Royce, which was the coming the once a fortnight and all the bells and whistles. And, you know, but for some people, that just can't be a reality right now. So I think that, you know, a willingness to have a conversation with a client around whether there are any limitations to investment, right? And then being able to create a treatment plan that is mindful of that and is customized to that will get them on board, okay, initially. And then once that relationship develops, and, you know, I'm finding that actually people, even though they might be apprehensive at the start and they might only commit to, you know, a 6-week visit or a whatever it is that's not ideal, as you go along in that journey, they're actually the people that start spending more, okay, because you've been able to develop the relationship. They've starting to trust you. They're starting to see the value in what you have to offer. They're seeing results. They're getting excited. And then all of a sudden, they're happy to run with the Rolls Royce.
Yeah.
Right?
And that's the big thing, Chris, isn't it? That they're seeing results. Because I think sometimes some of the treatment choices that are taken, they don't give that, you know, maybe instant gratification is something that people are looking for, but it's when they look in the mirror a week after a treatment, or 2 weeks after a treatment, that they start to say, oh, something's really changing here. Oh no, I've got to keep this up. And so then the investment restraint is still the same, but then they start to look at where they can take money from other areas. Maybe I won't buy a coffee every day. I don't need to do that.
Right.
Or I don't need to do my Mecca haul or whatever it might be. They find the money, because I do think that we do need to say, whilst there's restraints out there, there are a whole lot of different demographics. And definitely there's one that is totally like absolutely choking from their mortgages and from their you know, their bills, utilities, petrol, all that sort of stuff. There is definitely a demographics out there that is living that life at the moment. They've got young kids, they're really struggling. Then there's the other side completely, that baby boomer that doesn't have their kids at home anymore. They've paid their mortgage and then they're enjoying life.
Yeah.
You know, they're hearing what's going on, but they're not really feeling what's going on. And then you've got that middle class, which is really interesting, where they've saved their money and they know that they probably should be buying a house, or they should be doing something that makes more sense, but they're happy in the meantime because it looks out of their reach to buy that house. So they'll spend the money somewhere else and they'll spend it on themselves. And this industry, this is the other thing that we really need to acknowledge, it is a booming industry. There is no recession at Sephora. There is no recession at Mecca. Like we didn't get a Mecca voucher for Christmas.
Yeah.
You know, so we've really got to say, okay, what are we doing to make a difference, a professional difference to skins, that we can take them through a journey where the patient sees results and says, oh my goodness, I can only talk to an expert about my skin. I'll never go back and talk skin at Mecca or at Adore or whatever it might be. Would that be right?
Yeah, and like I said, I think it's that need now to customize within
Yes.
their expectations to then build the trust and the results for them to be able to make higher levels of investment. But I think the challenge that we've had is that, you know, there's been too much appointment swinging. People are not the treatment plans are not mapped out. I think the other bottleneck is that a lot of businesses were being very complacent in the way that they were consulting, right? So we weren't reassessing and we weren't reevaluating the needs of the client, even subject to the economic fluctuations, right? So your client that you had, you know, that's been coming to you loyal for, forever and a day, all of a sudden didn't have the level of investment available to them to be able to do X, Y, and Z. And because that wasn't revisited and understood, they've just decided to disengage altogether, right? Rather than you be able to engage them and work out something that's going to work for their season of budget right now, with the aim that, you know, we can maintain that relationship. And once they become a little bit more sort of they have a bit more disposable income, they can start to reinvest again. So being able to reevaluate, reappraise, reassess, even just from a skin treatment point of view. Like I have conversations with my clients all the time. If you're not reassessing skin every single time someone visits, what are you doing? You can't, just because you did a treatment plan 3 months ago, it doesn't mean that it's relevant to the client 3 months later. Like complacent consulting, I believe, has been the biggest killer in this economy, because people are missing opportunities to add more value and recommend other things. They're missing opportunities to customize and restructure plans to make them doable for people that might be experiencing some sort of financial distress or whatever it is, so they completely disengage. So you've got to continuously reevaluate and reassess somebody to keep them engaged, but also to ensure that you are providing all the opportunities that you possibly can to readjust and restructure and re-recommend things according to where they're at, whether it be budget or whether it be skin concern related.
Chrissy, it makes me want to ask you, coming from an allied health perspective, when and where do you think is the best place to conduct the consultation? Because traditionally, the client goes into the room, and the next time you see them, they're lying down, they're under a blanket, and they're already sort of going, relax. Is that too late?
It is too late. Yeah. You have to consult face to face. You know, so
I know sending him in a room and getting ready. We're going to talk before we can go in there. We have to talk.
We have to engage. We have to ask the questions. We need to get the information at a bare minimum to make sure that we don't put the wrong things on their skin or provide the wrong treatment from the outset, right? And you need direct attention of somebody to be able to get the information that you need before you put them on the bed. And it's not saying you might not talk at all when they're on the bed, but the business end of the information exchange needs to be done seated face to face with whatever clinical information they've filled out prior to the session. You're coming in, make sure you've read it. Do not read the stuff in front of somebody. You know, you want to make them feel like you're prepared for the consultation and draw reference from that. But definitely it's about getting more clarity or more information based on what they've put on there, rather than you sitting there going, oh, so you're using Sukin. Oh, you know, it's about going, okay, I've read that, I understand that, these are there's a whole lot of consult stuff, and that's for another live.
Oh, that is your world. that is your, like, you know,
my jam.
That is your jam, absolutely. And it's so critical, but it's so lovely to revisit it, because I think that I'm hoping that those that are listening to this today are really knuckling down and thinking, okay, there's a lot of stuff that we're just not doing.
Planning,
we're just not doing.
The other thing sorry, Marie.
No, please.
I was just going to say, from a practical point of view, again, what's working really well for the clinics that are crushing it right now is subscription style payment. So the way that this works is obviously you set up the treatment plan, you obviously quote all of that out, and then you enter into a subscription style payment methodology that allows them to pay in weekly installments. So from a budget, like, you know, I was saying this to a client the other day, so many people have been rocked by their expenses that they're struggling to work out their budgets right now, that they might get to the end of the month and they would typically have spent $400 or $500 with you. Now they're getting to the end of the month and scratching their heads going, I don't have that money. I don't really understand with cost of living and stuff like that, why I don't have that money right now. So it's almost like you need to help them in that regard. And if you can set up a subscription style weekly installment system that, you know, they might need to take out their $100 a week or their whatever it is that suits their subscription or the treatment plan, you've been collecting the payment for them to set them up for success by the time that 4 weekly or that 6 weekly appointment rolls around, and they're not scratching around in the bank
forced
account
sort of saving, isn't it?
for the $400 or $500 that they need to pull out that they didn't realise and they haven't budgeted for, so then they cancel their appointment. So economically right now, with what's going on with personal budgeting and the fact that people are still not on top of their personal budgeting with their cost of living, my recommendation also is around subscription style installments for treatment plans. And that does a few things to those lumpy appointment books. It don't happen, right? Doesn't happen in the first place because they're committed for the next 6 to 12 months or whatever it is. They've already paid for it, right? So they're not going to be cancelling those appointments last minute for the most part.
Does the subscription style differ from the membership style? Are they very similar?
I don't use the word membership.
I'm just wondering about that.
Yeah, I don't use that because, again, I feel like the language is really not representing as an industry what we're trying to do here. Membership,
gyms.
It sounds Jimmy, it sounds locked in, it sounds very, very scary for people that are in an economic situation at the moment that might mean they're a bit budget conscious. You say membership to someone, they go, oh no, I can't commit to that. That's a bit much for me right now. I don't have the money to be doing this, that, and the other thing right now. Whereas if you're saying, okay, here's the treatment plan, this is what it looks like. My clients use, it's called a customized treatment plan. We call it a CTP. So the CTP is the way that we speak to the client. It's a customized treatment plan and you can pay that in installments. We don't use the word membership.
I love that. Yeah, makes a lot of sense. I have 2 questions for you because I could talk to you.
I know we could go for hours on this. Before, just quickly, so because I wanted to say, if your appointment books are blank the next day, another strategy is, like you said before, get on the phone, go and look who hasn't been in the last 8 weeks and seems to have missed their appointment for whatever reason. Get on the phone, re-engage those people, give those people a call, and hopefully you might be able to backfill some of those appointments that just go, oh my gosh, completely forgot. What's your next available? And you might be able to backfill some of those appointments.
In that call, Chrissy, is there an incentive that you drop?
No. So the reason why I'm calling is to touch base with somebody. Obviously, I'm almost doing a mini consult while I'm on the phone. I'm bringing value to the conversation, right? So I'm saying, hey, you know, in the last session, we spoke about this. You took these products. I'm just really genuinely inquiring about how you've been going since that service. Also, how those home care products have been treating your skin, and the fact that we don't actually have a future appointment booked for you. So this is not a, hi, we've got a deal, we've got an offer, tomorrow only. People are like, can you stop bothering me? I'm at work. Like, I don't take this call right now. Whereas if you ring up and go, hey, it's Sally from Sally Skin, I just want to check in with you and see how things have been going. You know, we did this treatment. I want to know how it's been since then. You took a vitamin B serum. How's that been going? Wow, we actually don't have a future appointment for you, and I'm really keen to get another look and feel and see what's going on. When are you next available? That's so much more impactful than the, I got a deal, it's tomorrow only. Like, no.
And you know what other business does that?
What?
Who else makes that? No one.
No one.
No one.
No.
It's just like no one does this anymore. You know, the good old-fashioned service is gone out the door. And the way that's gone out the door, so is client loyalty. But it's
Yep.
so easy to bring it back if you've just
It
got
is.
so many of these things, like, you know,
Just care. Like, just genuinely care about people and be motivated to touch base with them, and they will come back.
You know, Chrissy, I tell this story, and I'm not in the hair industry, but I tell this story all the time because it's the one that it's a standout in my life. I went to a salon for 20 years, and then with COVID, just from conveniency and what do you call it? The restriction locations that you couldn't go from one place to the other. I ended up at another salon close to home and stumbled upon these two beautiful young girls that are business partners that just do it like, oh my God, so amazing. And the things that stand out the most to me is that every time I go in, just to sit in front of me, and from the beginning I was like, oh, have I done something wrong? Like, wish you could tell me. And it's just like, how are you? And what that we spoke about before is how did that interview go, or how did that podcast go, or how did that? It's like, oh my God, okay. And then she says, so today, what are we doing today? It's like, just a blow dry. So how did you want that blow dry? It's like, okay, we could do it like this, we could do it like that. Okay. If we're doing a color appointment, oh my God, that's next level.
Yeah.
Tell me about what you're loving about your hair right now.
Yeah.
Tell me about the color. Is there anything that you don't like? And it's the whole thing that all of a sudden I'm finding myself looking in the mirror going, yeah, you know what? Yeah. And so
you never thought about these things, but now you're asking. Yeah.
about it. And, you know, so I did that just a couple of weeks ago. I went back the other day and she said to me, I said, well, I think it's a little bit orange. She said, where do you think it's orange? Do you think it's all orange? I said, no, just here. She goes, okay, we're just going to use a toner there. So she puts the toner in. I get to the cash register. She said, toner's on me today. I said, no. She said, no, the color was done 2 weeks ago and I didn't get it 100% right. So the toner's on me today. Have you got your blow dry card? She has to ask me all the time for the blow dry card because I feel guilty about getting that stamp. And I said to her, I heard myself say, I feel guilty that the blow. She said, someone that has 9 blow dries deserves 1 free one.
Yeah.
And you know, one of the last ones fell on my birthday, on the day of my birthday. I didn't tell her it was my birthday. I went, oh, that's a really nice surprise today. Thank you. And then she'd seen on my Instagram that it had been my birthday. So she gave me my next one for free because it was my birthday. Now, I am going to make this very clear. I am a very good customer.
Yes.
When I'm loyal, right? I don't go anywhere else. That's where I'm going. But I am rewarded with a consistent, like Tiffany Bow experience every single time I go.
Yeah.
And I tell the story to anyone that's willing to hear. And all of a sudden, so many people have gone to this hairdresser because I tell this story. Yeah. And it's the same thing in what we do. There are so many touch points. And I just wish that, you know, clinic owners would sit their staff down and say, let's write down all the touch points that we give in this treatment. Mm-hmm. Sometimes they'll find there's very few, and others they'll find that there's many. And the one that there's got many is probably the treatment that people come back for over and over again. And like, talk to your distributors, talk to your suppliers. When we put together treatments, we put all those touch points too. So if you think, I don't know what a touch point is, I don't know what it looks like what's a touch point? How do I make it special? You've got people that are willing to help you. And I have to ask you, Chrissy, the consultation, I think there's only one other person I can think of that focuses on the consultation, and you both do it very well, but very differently. How do our members, how do they get in touch with you to understand, to learn the CTP? How do they learn it?
In terms of getting my help with that?
Yes, because today has been amazing. It's like beyond amazing, and the information that you shared has been gold. But I know that some people will run with this and others will say, okay, I need to know more. How do you find out more?
Sure. Look, I have a whole training platform. It's called the Ethical Sales and Consultation Training Platform. The thing that's unique about it is it's not, there is a clinical section on there, but it's more about the motivation and influencing the motivation and commitment of clients to be able to invest in what you have to offer. Because in essence, I think it's been drummed into us that if you just educate people will buy, and they actually won't. right? Like you said, you're buying and you're investing because of the care, because of the relationship that you've got there. And we can't neglect that component when it comes to creating treatment plans and home care prescriptions and all of that sort of stuff. So I do have a platform. I'm happy to drop it under the live here that people can have a look at. If you feel like the training and developing your consultation process to ensure that you've got the commitment and the motivation components in there, in addition to the clinical assessment, because that's still important. But my opinion is both have to be there. If you want people committed for the long term, if you want people taking home care prescriptions, if you want people listening to, you know, the way that you're going to enhance and customize services, you have to engage with them from a commitment and a motivation perspective from the start. Like your hairdresser's actually doing it. So she's bothering, like when you say, oh, it's a bit yellow, she actually, I call it unpacking the concern. Yeah, but whereabouts? Like she actually genuinely and curiously inquires and peels and peels and peels and peels, so that you go, wow, there's a lot there. You know, I didn't even think about these things.
But
That
the things that I
is
think
your
about them, but
commitment.
not when I'm in front of her. So I sort of go, oh, God, that's shitting me.
Yeah.
But she's making me say to her, this is shitting me.
Yeah.
Because she's making me think about it in that moment in the
She
chest.
asks, she inquires, she peels back the layers. You know, it's not just a same as last time.
Yes, exactly. I have just one more question from you.
Sure.
I really am really keen to hear the answer on this one here. And like I said, I can't thank you enough for your time today. And whilst I apologise once again to everybody that we were that hour late, I'm certainly sure that we have made up for the waiting time. What would you say to a clinic owner that right now is feeling defeated? I know that's a loaded one.
Go inwards.
Go inwards.
Right? Because I think that situations happen. Business is hard, right? If business was easy, everybody would be doing it, and they just don't, right? So your sense of deflation is coming from an internal narrative that you're running. So the way that you talk to yourself, the way that you treat yourself is going to have a direct influence on the way that you're feeling, right? So it's important to have a look at that. Right? Are you thinking about things in a pessimistic way? Are you a bit doom and gloomy? Are you a bit victim-y, you know, in the way that you're looking at things? If you change the way that you think and you change your perspective on things, the situation actually, you know, presents itself in a way where you're probably going to look for solutions rather than problems. So it's an inside job. It really is.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, thank you so much. You're a bloody legend, you know that?
Thank you.
It's so refreshing to so many conversations that we have, and this is one of the things that ABIC is really big about at the moment. We can't just highlight concerns, highlight challenges. We need the how-to. We need the how-to. What can we do that will make a difference right now? And there's so many things that we can do, and we're going to keep bringing the ABIC community all these great experts and skin gurus and legends and all these inspirational people, so that it changes the way that you think, but it gives you great ideas as well. So thank you, Chrissy Alger. I am so grateful. ABIC is grateful to you, and I hope that we've made a difference to at least one person today. 10, 20 would be even better.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for having me.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.